Welcome everybody to Eco Physiotherapy Presents Health, Wellness, and Lifestyle. My name is Madeline Golick, and I'm a pelvic health physiotherapist as well as the owner of Eco Physio. And this is our first live Zoom recording with my guest, Shalini. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So this is sort of an unusual topic, I think, for most people, like in relation to health, but I think it's really important that we talk about financial health because it can be stressful, right?
It absolutely can. And actually, I'll just throw some stats at you, but like for 42% of Canadians, money is the number one stress. And having financial stress can lead to depression and other ailments. As you know, sometimes what's hurting isn't actually the root cause. So financial stress can actually lead to other physical symptoms because you're just stressed out and your body is reacting accordingly.
Absolutely. And of course, when you're trying to figure out ways to support a family or support yourself, make sure, you have food on the table and electricity, like you're also going to put your body through a lot, trying to, overworking and not sleeping enough and etc. So eventually, your body hands you a bill.
Exactly. It catches up with you eventually. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I thought maybe before we dive right in deep, I thought maybe you could tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. So as you mentioned, my name is Shalini Dharna and I'm a chartered professional accountant. I'm one half of the Dharna CPA team. I actually work with my father, who's an accountant and a financial planner. So our approach in general to accounting and money is a very holistic everything approach versus picking pockets and, one person does this, one person does that, and they're never talking to each other. So that's why we can talk about financial health from a very different perspective, because we literally sit with our clients and understand everything from where's money coming in, where's money going out, how are you holding your debts, and coming up with that comprehensive plan. I specialize in small business owners and entrepreneurs and helping them set up their accounting foundation with the goal to grow your wealth. And paying less taxes is actually just one way we can help you do that. But financial literacy and financial health is the biggest part of that.
Yeah. So let's talk about financial health. Like, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean to you?
So financial health, similar to a physical health, is just making sure that everything in your life that involves money is working properly, working as effectively, as efficiently as it should be. Just like you go for a yearly physical, make sure your blood sugars are okay, your cholesterol's within a range. The same analysis can be done for your financial health, making sure your investments are working for you, your cash flow is being managed appropriately, and you're meeting all of your goals. So when all that is working and you're seeing the results that you want, that's being financially healthy.
So I thought maybe, because there's obviously going to be some people listening who might not be so familiar with some of the terms, but can you talk a little bit about cash flow? What does that mean?
So cash flow, in the most simplest sense, is money coming in and money coming out. In a perfect world, you have more money coming in than you do going out, but that's not always the case. There are definitely situations in people's lives when their bills are there and the cash flow is not coming in. So it's managing those ebbs and flows, especially for entrepreneurs. We all know our clients don't always pay us on time, but our collectors want payment on time. They don't forgive you just because your client didn't pay you. So especially for entrepreneurs, managing that cash flow is the number one struggle. And like I said, simply put, it's money coming in and money going out.
Yeah. And I imagine just for day-to-day people too, like making sure that similarly, bills are coming in, if you're on vacation, those bills don't stop because you're on vacation. And, there's some planning and some things that, people can do to help themselves there as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you're a homeowner, things break without giving you any warning and you need to fix it. It's not like your house, consults with you. Is it okay if the furnace dies now? No, So yes, everyday people have the same issue. If you're getting paid on the 15th and 30th, but you need cash before that, what do you do?
Absolutely. Yeah, no. And that in and of itself can be quite stressing, especially if you're a paycheck to paycheck, right? That's sort of a replaying scenario.
Yeah.
So why do you think financial literacy is not at a high level?
That's a very broad-based question. I think the most basic challenge is the fact that nobody educates people. If you look at our schooling system, we're not teaching children how to manage, how to budget. People aren't being taught about taxes. It's not something that we ever put an emphasis on until all of a sudden you become an adult and have a paying job. And that for most people is the first time that they've even encountered taxes. As someone who does personal taxes, the questions I get, oftentimes people don't even know how the system works, let alone how to use it effectively. So I think the biggest challenge is that nobody is teaching people how to do it. And, for the government, for banks, it's in their interest not to teach you, because when you get that debt and you're paying interest on it, that's how they're making money. But as everyday people, a lot of people tell me, my parents were horrible with money, I'm horrible with money, and I've never been taught how to even look at my finances. So to me, it's education. At the end of the day, it's just, there's no education around it.
Yeah, and I think that's certainly something that I've heard other professionals within the financial field saying, like, we're just not being taught. I mean, I remember taking accounting courses, and I was just thinking about this prior to our interview, going, I can kind of, I understand left and right side should match each other when you reconcile, but doing budgets, I don't know, like, if we were taught it, I don't recall it.
You weren't taught it, because I've done accounting since high school, and my father's an accountant, and most of my financial success has come because of things that he forced me to do. I'm not going to lie. I was hesitant. I resisted, because it's like, I'm not saving. I'm 16 years old. Why should I have a savings account? But my dad, being in the industry, he forced me to do certain things that we were just never taught in school. Accounting, what they teach you in high school is the fundamental principles. But really what we should be teaching is finances and managing it. We don't need to know a debit and a credit to know how to budget. So the emphasis when they are teaching is also on the wrong things.
Yeah, okay. So where would you, where do you start to get financially healthy? Like we got the education piece. So what else can people be doing to kind of get started?
I think the first thing, just like when you are physically unfit, you need to be mentally in a place to want to make a change. The same goes when you're financially unhealthy. If you're not opening your bills because you don't want to know how much you owe on your credit card statement, or you're just, paying what's due without looking at the overall snapshot, then you're not ready and you're not going to take the necessary steps. Once you get ready, my advice is to make up what's called a financial snapshot. So open up all those bills on a whiteboard, just like you have your vision board, have a financial snapshot, put down all your debts, put down all your credit card balances, your line of credits, your mortgage, cash in, cash out, have that all done so that you can see where is every dollar going and where is it coming from and how much do you have left to pay on your debt. When you do that financial snapshot, it might scare you, it might not be where you want it to be, and that's okay. But that's your starting point. And then we can make small steps, small changes, just like when you're getting physically fit, it has to be a lifestyle change. Same with finances. It has to be a lifestyle change to get the results that you want to stay and be successful.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's similar in the physiotherapy field. Like, you have to know what your body's feeling. You need to know where are you right now with your range of motion or your strength, and where do you want to get? And then we take those small steps to get you to where you want to go. Because if you try to climb a mountain in a couple of steps, you're going to get really frustrated, and then, it's going to make it hard to stick to the plan.
Exactly. And finances are no different. It didn't take you overnight to get into the financial mess. It's not going to be fixed overnight either.
Yeah. What are some tips that you could give to somebody that's sort of dealing with financial stress right now? Like, anything that comes to mind?
Well, I think just like now we're starting to talk about mental health, it's okay to have those conversations. Same way, a lot of people are embarrassed to admit that they have credit card debt, or that they are, in the hole $50,000, what have you. And so being able to talk about it and taking out that pressure of, trying to handle it all yourself, that actually helps. I've had clients cry at the end of a tax return, because we're having the conversation, they're like, I've never told anybody this, and just releasing all that bottled up emotion around the guilt of having a bad financial situation can be cathartic. And then it's, like I said, a little bit of education, asking the questions, and even being willing to invest to get professional help to get out of that mess is a great way to deal with it too. Just like sometimes you need a coach to guide you through those workout routines, that accountability buddy, same thing can apply for financial health and wellness as well.
Oh, I absolutely agree that, if you're stuck, the first step is, saying, either saying it out loud to your own self first, you know what I mean? And then seeking the help of somebody professional to help organize. It's hard to see the forest from the trees when you're in it. So it's hard to see what is the thing that's going to pull you out of this situation. Sometimes you need that outside perspective to ask you the right questions so you can see what's up.
And not even ask you the right questions. Sometimes you don't know how to get out of it, but a professional who's doing this on a daily basis for every of their clients, they can offer you sometimes the simplest of solutions that you don't even know exist to help you get out of that financial mess.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a really good point. So what are some tips for people to avoid financial distress? Like what can people be doing to not get themselves in these situations?
And that is going to depend situation to situation. There are unfortunately some people out there that their income just does not sustain their basic expenses. But I think for a lot of people, there's also a element of not wanting to make changes. You want to have everything, but your cash flow doesn't allow it. Or you want to have savings and retirement, but you're not willing to make a sacrifice now to save the money to get there later. So it's a lot of it is just your mental, your thought process, your attitude towards it, your mindset. Exactly. It's your mindset towards it. If you know that that's your end goal that you want to work towards, then you're willing to make the little sacrifices, go for it. I had one client and complaining about paying $60,000 in taxes. So, that's more than some people make in income.
Yeah.
And we were offering him strategies, but he needed to change the lifestyle. And he wasn't willing to give up his toys and his gadgets and his fun to make any of those options viable. So if you're not willing to change, then you also can't make a difference.
Yeah.
So that's one thing, is just to have the right mindset. And the other is to know your numbers. So many people, like I mentioned, don't even open their mail. They've never done a financial snapshot. All they know is I need to pay this bill, but they don't know how much is actually outstanding. They're paying minimums on their credit cards, for example. So having that financial snapshot, as I mentioned, also lets you see your situation. And sometimes that is enough as a wake-up call to change your mindset, because you didn't realize I had all this debt, because all you're seeing is it in pieces. But when you put it as a big picture, all of a sudden you're like, oh, wow, I'm way more in debt than I actually realized. Or I'm not as bad off as I thought I would, and I can make small changes here and there and work with the plan.
What would you say are some benefits of involving a professional versus like trying to do it on your own?
It's the stress level. Trying to do it on your own, if you could do it on your own, you'd already have done it, is often what they say when you're physically unfit. Same thing with personal finances or business finances. Sometimes you need that accountability person who understands it in a way that you don't. Or just to get tips and advice. If you don't know anything beyond your situation, you don't know what resources are out there. Sometimes it's the simplest. I'll give you one tip that we often tell people, like if you borrow money to put into your business, you can write off that interest. And so many people don't know that, and they're using their savings for business, and then they're putting their personal lives on their line of credit. And if you just flip it and use the line of credit for business and your savings for your personal, all of a sudden I've saved you tax money. And it's something as simple. It doesn't change your cash flow. It doesn't change anything, but it's something that I, as the professional, know and can apply to your situation that if you were doing it on your own, you wouldn't even know that potentially. So you can Google everything. As you know, I could probably Google how to do a pelvic floor exercise. But am I doing it properly? Am I going to see the results? And am I going to have the accountability to actually see the results? At the end of the day, no, most likely not.
Yeah, well, I think that's absolutely a great way to put it, because the evidence shows that 30% of women don't perform a Kegel correctly on their first attempt. So it's having the feedback from a professional to say, yes, what you're doing is leading you in the direction to achieve your goals, or, hey, we need to look at this, this, and this, because, maybe you didn't consider those aspects as important for your overall goals.
Exactly. It's just having a sounding board, somebody that understands the industry, understands the do's and don'ts, and applying it to your situation. That's the benefit of working with a professional.
Absolutely. So any other kind of points that you feel like more people need to know about for financial health?
I'd say the number one thing I would advise anybody, like I said, is to do that financial snapshot so that you are aware of your numbers. Then it's just because you're in a contract doesn't mean that there's not wiggle room. So if you are, for example, locked in with Rogers and you're paying X $100 every month for your cable, that doesn't mean you can't call them to see if they can give you a discount. Same with your creditors. If you have a lot of credit card debt, call them and see if they can reduce it or consolidate your debt. A lot of people feel this is the situation I'm in, I'm stuck in it, there's nothing I can do. Mm-hmm. And that's never the case. You always have options. And even if that option isn't viable today, we can take steps to make it work tomorrow. And it's just about having that conversation, having that open communication. If you don't ask for help, no one knows that you need it.
Yeah. And that's also a really great tip about, just making a call to see, maybe there's some other, financial thing or account that you could be using that has a lower interest rate. Because I was just thinking, I had just recently done this with TELUS, and you made me think about it, is like, I needed more data, but I felt like I was paying too much. So I just called them up randomly out of the blue, which normally I wouldn't do that. I'd wait till my contract is up and then I try to renegotiate. It was like, no, I need a solution now. And so I called and I was like, hey, I've been with you a long time. Is there something you can do? I just didn't think, I would have never thought to do the same with personal debt.
Yeah, you can absolutely call your credit card companies, and sometimes they'll put you, let's say you have a card that has a lot of perks. Well, maybe you don't take the perks and you take a lower card that doesn't have cash back or travel points, but it has a lower interest rate so that you're saving money on your debt and paying it down faster, as an example. Or like I said, just calling your vendors. You called TELUS. I called Rogers at Christmas and canceled my cable because we weren't using it. And they called me back the next day and gave me more features for a lower price than what I was paying. And so I have all the same stuff that I wanted for a lower price. So it's just, like I said, having the conversations with people that you owe money to. And if you're working somewhere, sometimes it's about even asking for a raise. If you've been working in the same job for a number of years and you're a valued employee, people are often afraid to ask for a raise. As entrepreneurs, sometimes we're afraid of charging our worth, or even following up with our customers to say, hey, this bill has been outstanding for X number of days. I need you to pay it. And people, like I said, people don't like to talk about money. It's not something that we enjoy having conversations about. But once you start saying, I need to do this for me, and I'm going to make those hard phone calls, whether it's to collect outstandings, ask for that raise, or lower what I'm paying, you'd be amazed. Little differences, $1 here, $1 there, it adds up at the end of the day.
At the end of the month, at the end of the year, over the next 5 years, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, you're absolutely right. Small changes can make big waves later down the road.
Exactly.
Well, this has been really educational in the sense of I even learned a couple of tips. So thank you for sharing that. And hopefully, others listening to the show have gotten some value. And of course, to our viewers, we will have contact details available at the end of the video, as well as in the description, if you're watching this on YouTube. So you can contact Shalini and ask more questions. And
would be happy to help.
yeah, well, was great. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on my show, and I look forward to chatting in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.